Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to BCB Main Stage for our first speaker of the day, Jeffrey Morgenthaler. There are a few truly full-time working bartenders who deserve the title legend, and Jeffrey Morgenthaler is one such individual. His blogs were among the most highly regarded among steely-eyed bartenders, and his book, The Bar Book, has fast become the bartender's Bible, all written whilst opening and bartending at two of Portland's most well-regarded bars, Clyde Common and Pepe Le Moco. A champion of the underdog, a fan of the real world of bartending, and yet ultra-creative Morgenthaler is unafraid to tell it like it is and shine a light on the good and the bad of our industry. Please give a warm welcome to Jeffrey Morgenthaler.
Hi. Oh, Jesus. Does anybody enjoy this? I hate this. I hate speaking in public. Wow, it's nice to be here. I came to, it's so bright. I studied French in high school, and I came to Europe for the first time in 1989, right after I graduated. And I like totally fell in love with Europe, you know? I just like couldn't get, I was like, the minute we landed in Paris, I was like, this is like where I belong. And then I was with my best friend. It was like exchange program. We were there for 3 weeks. And then I went back. I like saved up. I was living with my parents, and I was going to City College, getting my degree my first degree in physics, and brag. And so I would work during the school year, and then my best friend and I would go to Europe for like 6 weeks and like backpack all over Europe. We did this for like 3 years, the first 3 years. And then I went to university, and I just like couldn't afford to like go to Europe for 6 months every summer, and I was like pretty sad about it, but I kind of like resigned myself to the fact that like I was like, you know, and especially when I knew I was like kind of becoming a bartender, you know, and I was like, I'm just gonna basically just be like a bartender for the rest of my life. Like I'll probably never get to go to Europe again. And then I got a call, I don't know, this was like 11 years ago, and my first time back in Europe was BCB. It was the second BCB. And I was so stoked. And since then, this is my 19th visit to Europe. So I went 3 times, and then for like 20 years, I was convinced that I would never see Europe again, you know, like my favorite place. And then now I've been here almost 20 times. And so the whole point of this story is just to say thank you for all the support. Europe has always been like so super supportive of me, which like really makes me, you know, kind of really makes me happy. So it's just, this is my big chance to just like thank everybody in Europe for having me here all the time. Can you tell I'm a little nervous? I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm not like a real presenter, you know? Like I don't do this all the time. This is like the 10th time I've ever done something like this, and every time I'm just like I didn't sleep last night. I was like, fuck. Hi, my name is Jeffrey Morgenthaler, and I am a bartender from Portland, Oregon. I work in 2 bars, and I manage both those bars. They're both in the Ace Hotel. They're downtown Portland. This is Clyde Common. Gosh, this one, she's been a regular of mine for 20 years now. Clyde Common's like it's fucking crazy. It's like it's the craziest bar I've ever worked in. It's like right downtown, you know, it's in a hotel. We're not like part of the hotel, you know, we're not part of like the hotel group. It's like there's the hotel, but we're inside the hotel, but we're not owned by the hotel. We're owned by just like my boss, like a guy named Nate, who lives down the street from me. Like he's not like a big restaurant group, you know, he's not like a millionaire. He's just like a dude. So I work at Clyde Common. I've worked there for 11 years. I work at Pepe Le Moco, which is our cocktail bar downstairs that you've probably maybe heard of. It's like the Amaretto Sour and the Grasshopper bar, and like that's pretty much all we do there is fucking Amaretto Sours and Grasshoppers all the time. So that's what I do. I've worked there. I've worked here for 11 years. I worked at Pepe since we opened 5.5, almost 6 years ago. I'm turning 48 in 6 days. I started bartending when I was 24. So if you're doing the math on that, I've been behind the bar for half of my life. I have bartenders that work for me, work with me, that were born after I started tending bar. Like I've been behind the bar for longer than they've been alive, which they always like want to remind me of. I thought that it's always hard for me to like come here and like think of a topic because I can't like get up here and talk about like I can't tell you how to make a whiskey sour, right? Because you'll just fucking leave because everybody in here knows how to make a whiskey sour. So I thought I might talk about why I love working in bars. I've been doing it obviously for a really long time, and I realize that year after year there are fewer and fewer people of my sort of like generation. I realize a generation in bartending is like about 5 or 10 years, but there are fewer and fewer people of my generation that are still behind the bar. I tried to do like a little bit of research online, the government websites, get some statistics on what the average career span of a bartender is. The best I could find is 3 years, which was kind of upsetting to me, that the average career span of a bartender, I mean, it sort of makes sense, right? That like a lot of people that tend bar kind of like go and do it on a cruise ship for 3 months when they're in college and then don't do it ever again. But 3 years was like really sort of like holy shit, that's not a very long time. I want to talk for a minute about what I mean by when I say I've been bartending for half my life. I have been working full-time behind the bar for half my life. I didn't take 10 years off and become a brand ambassador. I didn't open my own bar and then immediately fly all over the world talking about it instead of like being behind it. I don't actually own any part of the bars I work in. I'm just like an employee. I just get a paycheck. I'm not a business owner. I just thought you guys might like to see some really old photos of me from behind the bar. So that's what I mean when I say that I've been bartending for half my life. I have been bartending for half my life. I've been back there full time. I took, I think, 2 months off back in 2001 when the bar I was working at closed, and I had a hard time finding another one. This is me. This is the first bar that I worked in. It was a real shithole. I don't know why I'm always yelling at people. It was a pretty hard bar. But as you can probably tell, I'm super proud of this. I'm super proud of the fact that I've been behind the bar for so long and managed to do that. And I never gave up, right? There are plenty of times, and I've like quit the fuck out of some jobs, right? I've like really quit some jobs. Like hard, like fuck you, quit the job. But I've always been back behind some other bar, like a week later, I like tending bar. I really do. I worked in offices and I got my degree in architecture, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But I tried to work in offices. I tried to be like a business guy, and I just failed at it. I'm just better at being behind the bar, which is not to say that like sometimes I don't fucking hate being behind the bar, which I'm going to talk about too, because I think that's part of it. So that's really like the topic of, hey, this is the world's very first cell phone camera. No joke. I'm going to kind of talk about how bartending has like improved my life. There's this paradox in our business right now that I find really kind of strange. Like, how many people are in here are bartenders? Awesome. All right, so like, what is your least favorite question? Like, what do what's your real job, right? Yeah. Or like, what do you want to be doing, right? You know, like, what are you going to school for? You know, what are you hoping to do after this, you know? And what do we respond, especially these days, right? Like, this is my fucking craft. This is my career. This is what I do for a living. I'm super proud of what I do. Fuck you. This is my real job, right? Do we all pretty much agree with that? I find that when I ask those same bartenders, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? How many of them actually say, I want to be standing right back here making gin and tonics for a bunch of fucking assholes every night? Like, not many, right? So there's this weird paradox that we have that says, fuck you, this is my career, and also, I can't wait till I get a real job and get the fuck out of here. You know, how many of you, like, show of hands, see yourself in 5, 10 years still standing back here serving gin and tonics to a bunch of fucking assholes? Yeah, seems like a good amount. Yeah, I love how the people was like, I'm like, you know, who hates this question? Everybody's like, me. And then I'm like, who's gonna be back here in 5, 10 years? Everybody's like, me, I guess. I mean, it is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, thinking about, like, all right, this is what I'm gonna be doing. This is how I'm gonna be fucking, you know, just dealing with dipshits every night. The most recent generation of bartenders kind of redefined what success looked like in the bar world. I mean, Simon Ford is, you know, sort of my generation. I think he's the same age as me, but he sort of came a little early. I love Simon Ford, by the way. I'm not going to say anything negative about Simon Ford. But these guys have, like, redefined. I mean, there was, like, bartending, right? There was standing back here serving gin and tonics to a bunch of fucking assholes all night. And then all of a sudden there was, like, flying around on private planes, you know, entertaining the world as a, you know, former bartender representing a brand with an expense account. And who here hasn't had a drink on Simon Ford's tab, or at least, I mean, not since he left Beefeater, but, you know, these guys, like, redefined what success looks like, and that's so amazing. But I think it helps reinforce this idea that you know, that the whole goal of bartending is to get out of bartending, right? Get out from behind the bar, get a sort of quote unquote real job. If you guys have any questions, you can always just, like, shout them out whenever too. I think that a narrative has sort of formed in our business about how impossible it is to tend bar for more than, say, 5 years. And they're pretty powerful myths, and I wanted to, you know, I mean, you guys know I love a good myth, a good bullshit myth. So I thought I might talk about a few of them. You know, one is this idea that, like, it's physically impossible to tend bar for more than 5 years, right? Because it's, like, the most grueling physical job on the planet, right? You know, I mean, you hear it all the time in all the wellness seminars and everybody, you know, you always hear bartenders my age say, oh, I wish I could do it, but it's kind of too hard on my body, you know, it's too hard, it's too physical. And it's not, you know, it's not hard, but I mean, like, look at this shit, you know, this is not great at all, you know, and it hurts, you know, but it's not, I'm not fucking dying, you know, I mean, I'm like, I mean, it's funny, when I was writing the bar book, you know, I was doing a lot of research on you know, sort of, I'm always been kind of obsessed with, like, proper shaking and proper stirring, proper, you know, body mechanics and stuff. This is one of the things, like, I learned in college. And, you know, I read a lot of articles about bartenders particularly like of that sort of generation, my generation, or the generation right before me, that like, and you hear about these guys that like threw out their rotator cuffs, you know, from shaking, you know, like fucking doing this and you know, like breaking, you know, their wrists were all fucked up. And I'm sort of like I know this is like a really unpopular opinion, but I'm sort of like of the train of thought that like, maybe if you threw out your shoulder from shaking cocktails, like maybe you're shaking the wrong way. Like maybe some asshole showed you how to shake wrong, because it's actually not really that hard. You just kind of do this until it gets cold, and then you pour it in the thing. You don't have to fucking shake, you know, like a fucking asshole, just like, you know. It's like, you know, like I said, like this is not in great shape. But, you know, I still manage to go for a walk every day. I wear comfortable shoes. I spend a lot of money on this kind of stuff. You know, I take care of myself a little bit, not a lot. I'm not like a workout fanatic, and I've been managing to do it for almost 24 years. It's like there are people who still play rugby at age 40, you know? Like, you can't tell me that it's impossible to tend bar for longer than 5 years. You know, I mean, and I think we always like forget that there are like all these other jobs that people do that are like really physically demanding, and they do it until they retire. You know, like, you know, but if you ask a group of bartenders, somehow bartending is just like the most physically grueling, demanding job on the entire planet. Like, oh my God, there was like a case of beer, and I had to bring it up a flight of stairs, and it was like, holy fucking shit. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure this guy really. I'm sure he really feels your pain, you know. I mean, it's just like, but you know, we're a pretty a self-centered industry, I think. There's this myth that you can't have healthy, long-lasting relationships if you work in a bar, right? It's physically impossible, right? Like if you work in a bar, you just like automatically have to just do a bunch of cocaine and cheat on your girlfriend every night, you know? And it's like too hard to have a relationship. With this, we have 9 bartenders, including me. So me and 8 other bartenders at between the 2 bars. 2 of them are married. These are from some portraits that I did of them. This one's engaged. These 2 are in a long-term relationship. In fact, everybody, all 9 of us are in long-term relationships, healthy long-term relationships, with the exception of these 2 knucklehead dudes, you know, and they're just, we love them. But you can't tell me that it's impossible to have a healthy, long-term romantic relationship, behind the bar. And in fact, that's like one of the big things that I'm going to talk about today, because I feel really, really strongly about this. The third myth, and this is like the one that like gets me, is that you have to be the best bartender in the world every single time you step behind the bar, right? Like here's the world's greatest bartenders, and then, you know, one idiot taking selfies with them. But like, I think there's this myth that says, if you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do it professionally, you have to be absolutely 100% perfect 100% of the time, or get the fuck out, right? Like, I get so bent out of shape every time I hear some like fucking bloated brand ambassador that hasn't been behind the bar in 10 years say, every difficult guest, you know, that you have, it's a gift, and it's an opportunity for you to learn and grow and be strong and be a perfect bartender. And if you can't do that, right, then get another job. Get out from behind the bar, because we don't need those people in here. And I wanted to tell you guys that I think that's fucking bullshit, right? I have nights that I get home from work and it's been such a great night, and I'm just like, I love what I do. This is so great. And there are other nights that I get home from the bar and I think, I hate this fucking business. These people were fucking horrible to me tonight. I fucking hate this. There are times that I get home and I think like, you know what? I'm a pretty fucking good bartender, you know? We had a couple things come up. I kind of crushed it. Flow was feeling really good. Banged out a bunch of drinks. A lot of people were stoked. There was that one guy, but then I kind of turned around. That was super rad. But I'll tell you, there are other times that I get home and I just sit there and I go, I'm a terrible bartender. I'm the worst bartender that's ever lived. I fucking suck. You know, it was just a hard night. You know, I love Dale, you know, but I have to disagree with quotes like this, particularly from people that don't do it anymore, you know. I think that this idea that we all have to be perfect or we should just leave is this kind of thing that reinforces this idea that we all need to get out of the bar business, right? And you know, a big part of me being here is after this, I'm going to convince you why it's so great to stay behind the bar. But I think this kind of stuff is, I think this is wrong. I think that personally, I think, Jeffrey Morgenthaler, that if you find yourself waking up in the morning and dreading your next shift, that you have a job. Because sometimes that's just like the fucking way it is. And well, I'm at it. One more thing. Why is this business the only, so if you saw like if there's like a convention for like, I don't like nurses, right? You know, if a nurse was on TV and the nurse said, you know, sometimes I just, you know, it's just, I don't like it. And I'm dreading my next shift. Absolutely nobody would say to her, you know what, you should quit your fucking job. Like, why is it so easy for us to tell bartenders, oh, you don't like it? Get the fuck out. You should quit your job. Like, we wouldn't talk that way to any other profession. We wouldn't even talk that way to people that pick up the trash, you know? If they were like, this sucks, we'd be like, yeah, it sucks, but you know, what are you gonna do? Keep at it, you know? Like we would never have the fucking audacity to tell people that if they're not gonna be perfect all the time, that they should quit their fucking job. So fuck that shit. We're allowed to be people with jobs, and we're allowed to have some good days and some bad days. You know, my team is, you know, we all know that like, I don't need you to be, you know, this is what I'm like constantly repeating to them. I don't need you to be the best bartender in the world. I just need you to try your best at all times. And that's all that matters. So when we have a problem with a guest and I come in the next morning and they say, boss, I'm really sorry, but we fucked up, you know, we just like, one slipped through the cracks. You know, but here's what we did. You know, we tried our best. I know these guys. I know they tried their best. And I say, you know, we'll get them next time. You know, it's not the end of the world. But I certainly don't tell them to quit their fucking job. I just get old. I want to talk about how staying behind the bar has made my life better. Partially to appeal to people. I talked to some people before this that have only been doing it for a year or two. And I just want to like give you this other option that you can do it long term. And also to appeal to people my age maybe that are thinking, you know, why the fuck am I doing this? I want to kind of try to appeal to both. The first time that being a bartender made my life better was when my first bartending job. I was in architecture school, right? And when you're in architecture school, you're surrounded by people that are like pretty rich. And I'm not rich. And everybody in the summer in architecture, they would normally go for an internship, right? They would go work for free, but I couldn't do that. So I worked in like a power plant. You know, is that power plant, like an energy plant? I worked in a sign making place, like making those shitty plastic signs for rent, you know, that you like stick on the side of a house. I made that for a summer. Like, I just did all these like shitty jobs. I worked in like photo labs for a long time. Oh, I made phone calls. I was like a phone call operator, you know, that would like call and ask people for money for the university. Just like shit jobs. And it was the summer of 1996. And I was like, oh, fuck, I need to find a fucking summer job. And the thing about architecture school is you have to get up in front of people and you have to like present ideas. And like young Jeffrey Morgenthaler was very, very shy. Like very, really, really scared. Like most people don't believe me when I tell them like how shy I was as a kid, you know. I never talked to girls, you know. Like I kind of didn't really like have a lot of friends when I was like in, you know, like school, like primary school, so I applied for, that summer, I applied for 2 jobs on the same day. One was washing dishes. What I really wanted to do was learn how to cook, because I was always fascinated with cooking. Washing dishes at a restaurant, a fancy chef. He was like the chef for the Grateful Dead. And then the other one was working in this piece of shit bar. And I got both jobs on the same day. And the only reason I took the bartending job was because I wanted to push myself outside of my boundaries so I could actually like learn how to talk to strangers. And it worked. I was so painfully shy. I was terrified that I was never going to get anywhere in life, and I needed to like overcome this. And bartending saved me in that regard. Like I'm a more complete human being because I can actually talk and engage with strangers or people on the street. You know, I'm not too sort of like bashful to go into a restaurant and order food, you know, whereas before I was, my first shift behind the bar was like so funny, you know, that she showed me where the register was and where the beer was and everything, and then she's like, there's that table, go take their order. And so I went over, you know, and I took and I was like, hi, what can I get you? And they're like, the first guy was like, I'll have a Budweiser. And I'm like, 1 Budweiser. Okay, and for you, Budweiser, Budwe. How about for you, Bud Light, Bud? And they're looking at me like, who is this fucking guy? And for you, Budweiser, okay, Bud. Okay, I'll be right back. And I go and I pour the beers, you know. And then I put them on the tray. You can always tell an inexperienced person when they hold the tray with 2 hands, you know. So I like went over to the table, and I was like, okay, so you had the Budweiser, and you had the Budweiser, and you had the Bud Light, and okay, you know, it was like I was like, it was not good, like. And then like fast forward 20 whatever years, and I'm like on national TV, like I'm able to like do so much more with my life because of bartending. I know that's like not the thing that you want to hear. The second time that bartending kind of saved me was when I started my website. I had graduated and I was working in architecture offices, and I was just kind of lost. Like I just didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was working in an office and I hated it. Of course, when you hate working in an office, nobody says you should quit your job. I was working in the bar full-time and the office part-time. I was trying to be an architect. And I was just like, I was lost. I fucking hated it. I hated sitting in this office with these horrible people doing this horrible work. You know, it's like architecture school. You go to architecture school and you design all these like beautiful, crazy buildings. But then when you get out, you're really just designing bathrooms and like waiting rooms for like hospitals and stuff. It's just like the worst. It's like it's the worst. And I'm working in architecture offices, and I just kind of hate everything about it. I hate the people, and you know, I'm working at the beer bar. Like we didn't even have spirits. It was just beer and wine. You know, it was like that shitty of a bar that they couldn't afford the liquor license. So I'm getting super into cocktails, and I eventually get a job, part-time job in a cocktail bar while I'm working in the dive bar. And every day I would go to that office, and instead of working, I would pretend to work. I would have like a very small web browser at the bottom of my screen, and I would read cocktail blogs. And I thought, I should start one of these. And suddenly it was just like everything for me, this was like 2004, everything's like started to just kind of like come together. Like it gave me purpose. You know, like I realized what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to like take all of this wonderful knowledge that I've gained and share it with the world. Like it saved me. It gave me, bartending gave me a purpose. Because doing this fucking horse shit, there was no purpose. Like anybody can design a bathroom. There was no need for me. And like, but to share all of this wonderful information that I've been able to basically steal from other people for years is just like, I can't describe to you just like how special and how important that is to me, to have like a purpose. And I think another myth that you hear in favor of quitting bartending is that you can't possibly contribute. Well, I want to do more than just bartend. I want to teach, I want to share, I want to trade. And I am certainly proof that you can do both. We're shooting the photographs to the bar book. Look at that hair, God. We did this in the space next door to Clyde Common. So I was working full time. We'd show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and we'd shoot until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'd have to go and get behind the bar. We did this for 10 days to take all those pictures. She was awesome. She was so great, but she was a fucking slave driver. She was just like, "You're here at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." I'm like, yes. That you can't contribute, that you can't give back to the industry if you're staying behind the bar. And I'm telling you that that's absolute fucking bullshit. I also don't think that this is probably not everybody's favorite take, but I just don't think that like contributing to the industry, contributing to bartending happens in a super meaningful way at your master class or your Tales presentation or your fucking cocktail pairing gin luncheon or your bourbon master class or whatever for 12 bartenders in some stupid city. I just don't think I don't think that that's where meaningful interactions happen. For me, my meaningful times are the times spent with my staff behind the bar, talking to them, being with them, working with them, learning from them, showing them things, and just like generally kind of hanging out and being bartenders. I find that that's so much more meaningful than anything like this, and I realize the irony of that I'm that fucking guy. But still, there are a lot of people that disagree. There are a lot of bartenders. I was reading an article. No, I was talking to a friend about a very famous bar in the United States that is like extremely protective with their recipes and doesn't let anybody, if you come and you sit at their bar and they know you're a bartender, that they kind of watch you like a hawk because they're afraid that you're gonna steal their information. And I think, why wouldn't you share? Why wouldn't you share like everything that you've learned with everybody else? Like maybe I'm from like the wrong generation, this is sort of like open source generation, but why wouldn't you want to like, also, do you think that we can't figure out your stupid fucking Mai Tai recipe by just like, just looking up Mai Tai? Why would you be so protective with this information issue? Why wouldn't you want to share it? And it has to be ego, right? It's like, it's not a business thing. It's not we don't share our information because it's bad for business. I mean, I've been sharing our recipes on my website for 15 fucking years. We are packed every single night. It's like, certainly not hurting us, and I don't think it would hurt anybody else. I don't know where this idea of not sharing comes from. So this is another way that being a bartender has really has improved my life. That's my girlfriend. We broke up this year. We're back together, but we broke up this year, and for a few months. And I was super messed up about it. I was really upset. Like, you know when you go through a breakup and you're like, I mean, of course you're like sad and you miss the person, but then also there's this other layer where you start thinking about like everything that like went wrong and like, what am I doing with my life? And am I ever gonna find love? And am I ever gonna like, or am I just gonna be a fucking loser for the rest of my life? So I'm having all these thoughts, right? We're broken up for like 2 or 3 months at this point, and I'm like, I'm not doing well. And we didn't break up for any like major reason. We just kind of quit, We had some problems like all couples do, like not, nothing major. It was like the little stuff, the little things that you kind of pick on each other about, and you let them kind of fester, and she kind of thought that these things were like bigger things. She also has a daughter. It's really I was having a hard time with that. Like I never really wanted kids. But there's this thing that happens in this industry where I think that people just assume all bartenders are just like pieces of shit that like, oh, that guy's a bartender. He just like wants to fuck people, all the time and, and doesn't want kids. I think at some point, like, you kind of start believing a little bit, I was always like, well, yeah, people are like, oh, you're a bartender. You hate children. And it's like, I don't hate children. I just didn't have any children, but, oh, hi. I didn't see you here. You, Christine Wiseman. I didn't hate children, I just didn't have any children. But after like 20 years of people telling you that like, you're kind of a piece, you're just somebody that hates kids, you start to sort of like believe it. And so I was really scared to get much more involved with somebody that has a kid. And I mean, I love her daughter. She loves me, but we broke up, and I did a lot of like, I really went kind of deep, I was having, like I said, I was having a really hard time with it. And I started thinking, like, why can't I do this? Why can't I hold a fucking relationship together for more than 2 years? Like, why? I've got people that have been with me. This is bar team, past and present. It's just like a whole bunch of my bartenders. Some of these people have been with me for 10 years. 6 years, 5 years, 3 years, 3 years, 4 years. I can hold this entire team of people together on a daily basis for a decade. And I can't keep a romantic relationship together for more than 2 fucking years. And I started thinking, like, what is it? Why do these guys deal with me for so long? What is it about us that is so successful? How do we do it? And I had this thought, maybe if I could get inside of why I've been able to make this relationship, these relationships, all so successful, if I could figure out what I've sort of accidentally done to keep this together, then maybe I had a chance at figuring it out at home. And I realized that the thing that keeps us together, all of us, is that we have a shared set of values. And that shared set of values is probably the most important thing that we could possibly have together, you know? I mean, anybody a bar manager here? What kind of values do you have for your team? Like, what is one value that you and your bartenders all share? You treat each other like family. Yeah, that's an amazing value. You know, we have, you know, ours are, you know, kind of all over the place, right? We sort of treat each other like family. I always say that, like, you know, I never like to call it family because I don't really like my family that much, but I do like my bar, you know? So I'm just like, we're a group of people who work together very well. We're not a family, you know? And they're always like, we're a family. I'm like, we're not a family. Families aren't awesome. But we have a shared set of values. None of us wants to work with people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol. So that's one of our values as a team. And we hire other people that have that same value. We value not working too hard, too long hours, you know, not burning anybody out. So we share that value. We cover, you know, when she said to us, I'm going fucking crazy, I need to take a vacation, I'm going to Europe for 2 weeks, we said, absolutely, we'll cover your shifts. That is a value. We want you to be a happy person, you know? And so I sat down and I made a list of the values that I was looking for in a partner. Things like I want, you know, I made a list of my 10 values that I want in a partner. I want someone that practices kindness to strangers and kindness to animals. You know, I want someone who wants to build a life together. I want to be with someone who, you know, and I made all these lists, and I called her, and I sat her down, and I told her all this about the bar team and how I've been able to hold this together for 10 years plus. And so I read her my list of 10 values that I'm looking for in a partner. And I said, I don't think that we're supposed to be broken up because because you and I have the same values. I think we're supposed to get married and spend the rest of our lives together. And she came back a week later and she said, yes. This is where you clap. You know, she doesn't love it when I compare our relationship to a bar. Okay, understandably, that's fair. But I do, you know, and I tell her all the time that, like, there's so many great lessons, and I come home and I share these lessons. Sometimes it's a lesson from a night that I might be able to find a parallel that, like, will extend to our relationship. Like, I said, you know, I was having a problem. One of my bartenders was just kind of grouchy, you know? He just didn't really want to be there. And we sat down and we talked about it. And so she and I ended up having a real discussion about the value of communication. And then there's so many parallels between the bar and my home life and the success of the bar and the future success of my home life that bartending didn't just, like, improve my life. Like, bartending saved my life. Like, yeah. Heather was She was really busy a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, I'm pretty good with kids. I don't know a lot about kids. We've only been together for 2 years, and her daughter's 7 now. I met her when she was 5, but, like, I haven't done a lot of stuff. Like, we hang out on our own sometimes, you know, like, you know, I'm teaching her how to cook, and I'm, like, teaching her how to read and all this kind of stuff. But, like, we haven't done a lot of, like the real, like, nitty-gritty, like, child stuff, you know? And one day, Heather, a couple weeks ago, was like, look, I'm sorry to ask this, but I have an event that I'm running, and I can't be there. I got to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't have anybody else. I need you to get her to school in the morning. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then I was like, holy fucking shit, oh my God, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know, I've never gotten a child to school before. How do you even do that? And so I went to one of my bartenders, a guy named Greg, guy that we just hired. And he's like one of those like wise, old, like bearded, you know, like big bearded guys from like the Midwest, you know? And he's always like very chill. And he was like, he goes, he used to be a bouncer in Scotland, Northern Scotland, not like regular Scotland, like Northern Scotland, like scary Scotland. And he said, look, the thing about kids, you gotta realize they're exactly like a really nice drunk person at the end of the night. You gotta get them out of the bar. I was like, oh, I can do this. And it's like, okay, do you have your bag? Do you have your bag? Do you have your bag? Is that your bag? Do you have your keys? Do you have your keys? Let's check for the keys. Do you have your keys? You've got your keys. Okay, ID? Do you have your ID on you? Will you show me your ID? Show me your, okay. Have you closed out your, no, you have not closed out your, okay, let's go back to the bar. Okay, we need to close out let's get your name, close out the tab, credit card, okay, let's get you to sign this. And it's the same exact thing, like, okay, in 5 minutes, we're gonna brush our teeth. So we're gonna go over here, come with me, ready? We're brushing our teeth, okay, brushing our teeth. You know what we're gonna do after this? We're gonna put our socks and shoes on. You know, it's like, do you need me to get you an Uber? Do you have the Uber app on your phone? Can I use your phone? Do you want me to call you an Uber from my, okay, I will get you an Uber from my phone. Give me your ID so I can figure out where you live. You know, like, it's the exact same thing. This, you know. I mean, that's almost it. I just know that thanks to all of these wonderful lessons that I've learned from behind the bar, that I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. I've been teaching myself photography lately, mainly because I fucking hate pictures like this. They're so dumb. It's like every like cocktail Instagram that you see is just like, I shot these, by the way, so I'm not making fun of somebody. These are my pictures. But I took them for a joke. It's like they always look like this, right? Like this tells you nothing. This tells you nothing about anything. It just like looks pretty, you know? I've published my first 2 photo essays on the Daily Beast, and my 3rd photo essay, which is going to be portraits of my staff, will be coming out as soon as the rest of them let me take their picture. They don't really want their picture taken. So I got 2 bartenders left. I've been locking them down. I've been chasing them around because I'm not taking their picture behind the bar. I'm taking their picture like in their home or with their loved ones. If you think that there's a lot of like fucking bullshit in our industry, like a lot of misinformation and a lot of ego, you should hang out with professional photographers. They are the absolute fucking worst. And everything that you read online, I've been approaching photography with the same passion and the same level of like dedication and like studying that I did with cocktails way back in the day when I was working in the architecture firm. And I tell you, holy fucking shit. If you can't read a cocktail forum, you know, with differing opinions on like, you know, what the fucking best rum is in a Mai Tai, if that makes you crazy, do not take up photography, because those people are fucking awful. But I got tired of this fucking, I just think this stuff is like stupid. I mean, no offense to anyone here who takes pictures like this, but I've been trying to take more pictures. So this was at a memorial service for our wine director who died of cancer earlier this year. And this is 2 of my coworkers. previous coworkers. They left 5, 10 years ago. And I wanted to catch this moment of like 2 really dear friends who were absolutely crushed to hear that she had died, and so quickly and so fucking horribly. And I thought, I can do this. I can start doing like a new type of like kind of storytelling in the bar because I understand the bar, because I'm behind the bar, because I'm there at the bar. And so I'm going to be doing a lot more of this, and I'm going to be doing a lot more bartending. I'm going to be doing a lot more bar managing. Hopefully not too much more talking. I don't really like this. But I'm just going to keep doing that. But I'm going to keep being behind the bar 4 nights a week, sometimes 6 nights a week. Am I right? Forever, and it's gonna continue to help me grow. And I just hope that some of you will join me and do it with me. And that's all I have for you. Thanks for coming. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Oh, I did it. Oh. Thank you. This is awkward. It's very awkward. I don't like this. I feel very strange. I can't imagine there would be any questions about that, but does anybody have a question? Exactly. Great. Thank you so much for coming. I really
Give it up
appreciate
again
it.
for Jeffrey Morgenthaler, everybody. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for sharing your heart and soul with all of us today. Everyone who's leaving the room, please make sure if you came in with a glass, a bottle, or a cup, take it with you, and there's a bin at the back of the room and also outside of the room. Thank you so much.